After the close of World War II, 22-year-old Elizabeth Short went to Los Angeles with stars in her eyes. Since childhood, she had dreamed of becoming a glamorous movie star, and she achieved her goal of fame, but in a sad and horrible way. In January 1947, Elizabeth was brutally murdered, her badly mutilated body left on display for all to see. Her killers have never been found, and her story is one of the most mysterious crimes of the 20th century. Why did this happen to her, and who could possibly have done it? In this series, I take a look at the forensic astrology of the case. Beth's drive for fame is described by her Leo sun, which makes a friendly trine to her Sagittarian Jupiter. She was outgoing, optimistic, and very future-oriented, always hoping for the best outcome. This trine lent a willingness to trust others a little more than was prudent, and she naively kept company with people of dubious reputation. Her natal chart features a stellium or grouping of Venus, the Moon, and Pluto in Cancer, all of which form a favorable trine to her Mars in Pisces. While the Moon's exact degree is not known, it's still within orb of this grouping. There's a compulsive need for emotional security, but her nomadic, whimsical lifestyle, driven by the Jupiter-Sun trine from Sag to Leo, made it difficult to form close attachments. Beth did not always act in her own best interests, but she was only in her early 20s and was allowed no time to learn from her mistakes. With her sun in Leo, she wanted to shine, to be the center of attention, which must have been difficult in a family with a deadbeat father and four sisters close in age. The entertainment business is heavily populated with Leos, who are creative and dramatic. It is also the sign of royalty, presidents, and leaders. The sun is the energetic force for all living things, human, animal, and vegetable, and its task is to nurture all life on earth, as leaders ideally should do. The sun also represents the father, traditional head of the family. The Leo native has a special need for a strong father figure, and the lack of one poses serious problems within the psyche of the Leo child. Princes must eventually succeed kings, so it's important for Leo children to have good role models to show them the way to claiming their own power. In abandoning the family, Cleo Short fell far afield of providing any semblance of a good role model. As compensation, Beth yearned for stable male companionship, someone who could take care of her and assist her in reaching her goals. This was not to be fulfilled in the smoky, dimly lit taverns that she frequented, seeking love in all the wrong places, and eventually connecting with the absolute worst people she could have ever run into. It is the failed sun metaphor that drives the rest of her sad story. With the Moon, Venus, and Pluto combination in Cancer, she hoped that fame would transform her life. If anything, her drive for fame did just that, but in a horrible way. The combinations of personal planets with Pluto cast an obsessive drive to her desires. Drastic transformations often consume the most important phases of a person's life, if not ultimately the life itself. With Venus trine Mars, Beth knew how to get what she wanted from men, and plenty of men wanted something from her. With Mars in Pisces, she met a fair amount of them in bars and nightclubs, and some of them had criminal records, as well as psychological problems, as she would learn all too late. While not the safest environment for a single naive girl, Beth felt that bars and nightclubs were the place to find influential men who might help advance her career. She became known in all her local watering holes and nightclubs, always turning heads with her long raven hair and stylish dress. This attraction to the seedier side of society is highlighted by her Sun in conjunct Mars, with Mars in Pisces in the sign of addiction, questionable associates, unsavory habits, and fantasy daydreams. Beth was popular wherever she went, with boyfriends at her beck and call, but commitments were rare. She claimed at one point to have been engaged to an officer who was killed in the war, but there was never any evidence to support this. It may have been a fabrication of her overactive imagination, as her Sun, Neptune, and Mercury in Leo showcase her creativity, especially where storytelling is concerned. The Sun has a dark companion in Beth's birth chart, the malefic fixed star Praesepe, which could not be any more prophetic. Its dreadful nickname is the exhalation of piled up corpses, and it relates to a violent, brutal death, possibly by stabbing. The depraved image of piled up corpses will also fit into this story as we explore the metaphorical symbolism of this generational crime. Another significant fixed star is Regulus, which is within a 1-degree orb of Beth's Mercury at 28 Leo. This star relates to royalty, as does Leo, an association with fame or being famous, and this destiny was sadly fulfilled in the history of true crime as one of America's most horrific unsolved murders. While her rising sign or ascendant is unknown, these planets prompt me to guess at a Scorpio ascendant. Beth was famous for her long, flowing raven black hair, and Scorpio rules black. Her nickname, of course, includes the word black, and the rulers of her chart would therefore be Mars and Pluto, Mars being in watery, dreamy Pisces, as reflected by her watery blue eyes, faraway look, and predilection for bars and drinking establishments. Pluto naturally fits in as descriptive of a tumultuous life and catastrophic death, which ironically transformed her into a very famous person. And her natural sense of secrecy and aura of mystery serves the Scorpio ascendant well. There are no planets in Earth signs, showing a lack of practicality and groundedness. She was not one to plan in advance, casting her fate to whatever wind swept her towards a crash pad or a free meal. Beth's North Node, also called the head of the dragon or Rahu in Vedic astrology, is in her own birth sign of Leo at 23 degrees, showing a destiny very much connected with her cherished dreams of fame. The placement is significant in the crime chart that we will visit shortly. In the birth horoscope, the North Node conjoins the asteroid Asmodeus, which appears again in the crime chart as a harbinger of heartbreak and jealousy. The fiancé that she claimed to have lost during the war may have been a figment of her imagination or a ploy for her to seek sympathy and attention from others. The asteroids or minor planets also describe many aspects of her brief life. Elizabeth preferred to be called Beth, so it's no wonder that asteroid Beth, Bethe, forms a sextile to her natal Venus. At 26 Libra, the planet Saturn opposes asteroid Black, and asteroid Fama, which trines her Piscean Mars, gave her strong motivation for its namesake, fame. In an eerie foreshadowing, both Fama and Prey, Prey, are tightly configured in Cancer. Her search for fame in all the wrong places led to her exploitation and brutal death as the prey of her killers. Asteroid Elisabetta forms a dramatic complex of aspects which are concerning. Elisabetta is in direct opposition to planet Uranus, asteroid Typhon, and asteroid Toro, which all speak of a catastrophic incident well out of Beth's control. Typhon represents a mythical monster, and Toro presents the opportunity for violence. Mixed in with Elisabetta and Uranus, these are not favorable placements. Venus is also afflicted by difficult asteroids. At 1 degree of Cancer, she is in exact square to the monster asteroid Ceto, which also trines Chaos in Pisces, which means just what it sounds like, chaos. Venus is also visited by Astrea, which can represent someone who doesn't know when to let go of something, an object, a person, or a goal. Beth got plenty of subtle warnings on her ill advised stay in California, beginning with her arrest, her erratic lifestyle, and her father kicking her out. But she was determined to stay long enough to meet an awful destiny. Beth's sun at 6 Leo is opposed by Sato asteroid, a threat of sadistic behavior or danger from persons with cruel intentions. The Sun also forms an exact trine to asteroid Mors Somnus, the death dream asteroid that references transformative death and deep dreamlike trance states. This asteroid may have reflected in Beth's tendency to stare deeply off into space, her watery blue eyes fixed on the distant horizon. Planet Jupiter at 10 Gemini is exactly square the goddess of beauty, Aphrodite, in Pisces. She turned heads wherever she went, just like Aphrodite did as a Greek goddess, presenting an aura of mystery and glamour. Saturn at 26 Libra conjoins asteroid Dylan, showing a karmic relationship between Beth and Leslie Dwayne Dillon. As for another prime suspect, Mark Hansen, the asteroid Mark at 27 Pisces exactly opposes the 27 Virgo vertex point, showing a fateful connection to him as well. I progressed her chart to January 14th, 1947, her last day on Earth. Her last 2 weeks were filled with worrisome aspects. Mars was opposing Neptune in early January, when I believe she was taken captive and brought to the Astra Motel in Los Feliz, where she was later murdered. Jupiter forms a trine to Uranus, facilitating a weird or bizarre event, and Mars sextiles this Uranus as well. But the most critical aspect was an exact conjunction by transit of Saturn to her natal sun, effectively snuffing out her life. Now we take a look at her solar return for 1946, which also gives away some unsettling clues regarding that last year of her life. I'm not fond of the solar return, especially with the dangerous cluster of Saturn, Pluto, and Mercury in Leo. The moon is uncertain due to the lack of the birth time, but it probably falls into this Leo cluster, as it would have ranged from about 17 degrees at midnight of that day to about 29 by the end of that day. It's still not good, as Moon Pluto connections can speak of revenge, jealousy, resentment, and manipulation. With Mercury in the middle of this threat, I revert back to the idea that Beth might have said something that angered someone, and angered them very badly, setting off a fatal confrontation. Venus next to Mars in Virgo in this chart suggests a male presence in her life, which was nothing new, as she was always out partying around men or dating them. However, here Venus is in her fall, and Mars in Virgo can be nervous and persnickety, as in someone easily taking offense. With Venus and Mars in Virgo in opposition to Uranus, there was room for violence of a perverse nature as well. I also don't like that this prickly Venus Mars combo squares a conjunction of Uranus and Rahu, or the North Node, on one side, and a conjunction of the South Node, or Ketu, with Black Moon Lilith on the other. These form a very volatile T square. Black Moon Lilith is the promise of evil, and in tandem with the South Node describes a cruel destiny, something she will not shake free from. To add insult to certain injury, her natal Uranus fills in that T square to complete a grand cross in the combined charts. It is not surprising that this was Beth Short's last year of life. It was a really bad star-crossed year for the aspiring starlet. It's also fitting that her natal Neptune conjoins this unfortunate Leo cluster, casting a shroud of mystery, confusion, and deception over the unsolved Black Dahlia murder case. And she was indeed a woman of mystery. Nobody ever really knew her, who she was, or what she was about. It was hard to keep track of her whereabouts and even harder to get to know her. She was free and easy with everyone, wafting her way through life like a dandelion puff in the wind. In death as in life, she remains an enigma, a famous one at that. So, if you're interested in learning more about the techniques I use in forensic astrology, I'll just take a moment for a shameless plug. I have written several books on the topic. My first one was Forensics by the Stars. My second one was Exploring Forensic Astrology. And my most recent is Asteroids, Our Cosmic Influencers. So I'm putting a link in the description below where you can find all my written works. And if you have any questions, comments, criticisms, what have you, feel free to drop them in the comments below. And so I'll look forward to hearing from you. I'm BD Salerno, also known as Star Sleuth. Thanks for watching.